Good afternoon. Dr. Gary here on the road. We sell dental practices nationwide. We're dental practice brokers. Today's topic is a word of advice and opinion about accountants and outside advisors when evaluating the sale of a dental practice to either a buyer or a seller. We're going to get into that. So now we've been doing the dental practice brokerage nationwide for 12 years. We're in 26 states. We have 10 employees, including 2 CPA accountants, marketing director, operations director, and 5 development acquisition specialists. Our phone number is 201-663-0935. Our website is dentalpracticeguide.com. The information you're about to hear is for entertainment purposes only. It is not business or is it legal advice. So just remember that, please. Again, our phone number 201-663-0935, and the website is Dental Practice Guide. If you are thinking about selling to a DSO, please give us a call, because we work with them all. They pay our commission, and sometimes, under certain circumstances and criteria, we can get your legal fees reimbursed at a successful closing table. So give us a ring about that. We deal with them constantly, and ones you have met last year are not the same as this year. Things change internally. Management changes, their platform changes, their profile changes, what they're looking for changes. It's always different. And we're in the trenches dealing with them every day. We know what it's like. We go down to the wire with the contracts and so forth. So we work with all the attorneys. But anyway, so let's get into this about these accountants and outside advisors. First and foremost, I wholeheartedly endorse using the outside advisors, accountants, and any financial specialist, whatever. I agree to that. The issue is this. Whatever advice they give you, whether to buy, to sell, whatever they give you, don't forget they have to protect themselves. That if they tell you to sell and you're a seller and it doesn't work out like you assumed it would, they're liable. However, if they tell you to stay the course, do what you're doing, do nothing, don't sell, they're not liable. So you have to remember that. Also, you're going to find that people do give you advice. But after they give you advice, what do they do after that? They resume their own personal activities. They go back to their job, to their work, to their company, whatever it is. The activities for that person that you just spoke to, who's gainfully employed, goes back to what he was doing before, right? Whereas he's giving you advice to possibly sell your office or to buy something, buy an office, and they may tell you not to proceed forward. The buyer don't proceed forward, seller not to proceed forward. Well, what happens in those circumstances is the seller now has the practice to move on to another buyer, not sell it, whatever. But the seller's situation hasn't really changed. They're still stuck with the practice. That is, they now have to sell the practice. Someone may be giving them advice on the terms of the deal and say, well, this is not the right deal for you. Okay, so what is the seller going to do now? The seller's going to go back and say, oh, okay, I'll have to wait for the next buyer. He's stuck with that practice. And now with the buyer, someone advises him, do not proceed forward. Here are the problems with the deal. Okay, the buyer goes back to his original job at that point, whatever that may be, will be. So he goes back to his job, he loses that opportunity. You've got to figure, what is the value of a lost opportunity? What value does that have to you? Because they make the advice to you the accountant or the financial expert, and they leave and they have a gainfully employed job. You have nothing now. You've lost that opportunity for the practice. Now you've got to say, okay, I will just find another practice. Well, how long is it going to take you to find it? The interest rates are going up. We're in 2022 spring. Interest rates are going up. How long will it take you to find another practice that meets the same criteria as the first one? But they told you, don't buy it, move on. Well, move on to what? What if you can't find something else that you're looking for, and this was the closest opportunity right here? Well, it doesn't affect them. Once again, their financial picture stays the same. They're going back to their occupation, their job, whatever. It doesn't affect them. It affects you because you've now lost a job. And the seller? Well, the seller still has the practice or is stuck with the practice. He now has to find another buyer that he's happy with, that's going to give him the same money or more money with less terms than the other one. So this is kind of a dilemma. You, the buyer, or you, the seller, can't proceed forward with what you perceived was a good opportunity. Now, once again, by no means am I knocking any accountant or a financial advisor. I think you should weigh their advice. But once you weigh the advice, you've got to say, well, okay, if I walk from this deal, or I let this deal go and I don't sell it to this one fellow or gal, what am I left with? What am I expecting on the next buyer? Will the next buyer have the same terms and conditions as the first buyer? And as a buyer himself, you walk away from the deal because your accountant and financial advisor specialist told you to walk away. Well, your situation doesn't change. You have to go back to your job. And having a job, you have no, there's no guarantee. You can get disabled, you're going to lose your job. You can't hire somebody else to do the work. Your job is gone. So yeah, you're making big money up until the time you get disabled. So, you got to think about that. Even during the pandemic, the PPP money became available. There was some ways to make money. I know they opened it up to at least having emergency patients. You could see there was something there, and most of the doctors got through it, And whereas a lot of the buyers during the pandemic did have the hours cut, or some of them had they were let go at their job because the work wasn't there. So there's a lot to consider before you listen to the advisor and walk away from a deal. Buyer or seller, before they walk away, what are your consequences of walking away? When will your next opportunity come around? I'm not saying there has to be desperate by any means. I'm assuming you as a buyer have spoken to a lot of have seen several offices for sale. And as a seller, hopefully your broker or us have brought you enough potential buyers so that you can make a qualified decision. But be careful out there. Be careful when you listen to advice. And always remember that advisor, after they advise you, has a gainfully employed job or business that they're going back to. So just remember that. All right. Great talking to you guys. We're going for a swim and we are excited. Indoors. Hopefully it'll be summertime soon. We'll be outdoors all the time. I can't wait for the beach. I'll see you now. Catch you on next episode.